Good evening,
Well, welcome.
everyone. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market and Deli, and tonight's special guest that we have with us is Dr. Lexi Loch, naturopathic, naturopathic physician and Terry Naturally Educator. Thank you so much, Dr. Loch, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth, and also Marlene's, and to everyone who's listening live. I know sometimes it's hard to find time in our busy schedules to attend some of these live seminars, and also thanks to anyone who's listening to the recording once it's available. So today we're going to be talking about natural strategies for effective detoxification. Now, I chose this picture, if you're following along on computer, it's this beautiful like turquoise blue water. It's actually Little Crater Lake. And really, that's kind of how I envision all of us look or could look on the inside. But, over time and with stress and, maybe some dietary things, our water gets a little bit more murky or muddy. So we're going to talk about some strategies today that we can implement into our daily lives to kind of bring that turquoise diamondy color back into our bodies. So a little bit about myself. My name is Dr. Lexi Loch. I graduated from NUNM, which is located in Portland, Oregon, in 2021. So I have my naturopathic physician license in both Oregon and Washington. I see telehealth patients from both states. And in addition to that, I love to write. So I'm a medical writer and editor, researcher, educator. I've been fortunate enough to have some articles published in natural health magazines, periodicals, some herbal medicine reference books. I've also been a lifelong athlete, so love to play volleyball, played all throughout my undergrad and college, and I'm a downhill longboarder as well. I reside in the Pacific Northwest, so lots of access to mountainy, swervy, curly roads. I'm originally from Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is actually where I am right now. I'm back in town. I work for Europharma, which is the parent company to the Terry Naturally brand. I've been with them for over 8 years. So the physical office for Europharma is located in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I'm in the land of the ice and snow. I'm definitely missing me some Pacific Northwest weather right now, but it's been great. So anyway, today what I want to focus on is some detoxification strategies that I think we can, all bring into our daily lives. So I like to break these down into the 4 S's. So first and foremost, we got to do the best we can to stop the exposure. So for a lot of people, this comes with diet and lifestyle changes. Number 2, support the lymphatic system. Some people out there have never heard of the lymphatic system. I feel like it's kind of the underdog or the underappreciated system in the body, doesn't get a lot of attention, but it does a lot of work, kind of like our garbage crew, if you put it that way. So number 3 is safely promote the removal of toxins. So this is where I think some targeted supplementation can come in. I just want to let you know from the get-go, I will be talking about ingredients from certain dietary supplements, but I won't mention any brand names just because I want to keep this purely educational, and I'm sure the great folks at Marlene's can help you if you do have questions on specific ingredients and products, but I'm just going to talk about more about the science. And then last but not least, how do we set up daily routines or daily rituals or daily ways that we can support our body's natural detoxification abilities? So I think the word detoxification kind of gets thrown around a lot, but we may not always have a similar understanding of what that word means. So detoxification is a lot of processes that happen in the body that help to make a substance less toxic. So things like chemicals or pesticides or even waste that we produce in the body ourselves, that all has to be broken down and kind of reconfigured so we can get it out of the body. So detoxification is the act of making something less toxic. But then we need to go a step further and get that thing out of the body. So when I'm talking about detoxification today, that's kind of the definition that I'm going off of. I know sometimes verbiage can be a little confusing, but so when we're thinking about detoxification, a lot of this happens in the liver, the kidneys, our GI or gastrointestinal tract. So how do we safely remove things out of the body that we want there so we can make more room for the things that we do want? When people maybe have ineffective detoxification, or maybe their body's bucket, that beautiful water, the way it should be, that nice turquoise color, gets a little muddy and murky, what are some of the symptoms that people are going to experience? Now, the tricky thing is a lot of times they're what we call non-specific. So it's not like indigestion means you automatically have ineffective detoxification, but it's a pretty common symptom. So a lot of people, when they have indigestion, it may be things like bloating or gas or even stomach pain. Those are kind of cues from the body saying, hey, something's kind of wrong here. We've got a buildup of toxins. We need some help getting this stuff out of the body. Now, fatigue is also pretty common because when we are overloaded with toxins or waste materials, it's harder for our cells to operate normally. It's harder for our cells to do their job. It's harder for our body to make energy. It makes sense that we're not going to feel great. We may feel fatigued, and we may even have, mood changes like depression or irritability. Headaches are also a pretty common sign, and general aches and pains. That's what's tricky, is there's a lot of signals that the body can send us when we aren't detoxifying things properly from the body. So number one, our first aspect we're going to talk about is stop the exposure. So this is primarily going to talk about nutrition and lifestyle changes. So when I talk to patients about toxins, I kind of break them down into two categories. We have external toxins, so things that are coming from our environment. So a lot of times these are chemicals, whether it's in the form of pesticides or herbicides, all of the environmental pollutants that are out there. Like I said, I'm in Green Bay, Wisconsin right now, and it's a big mill town. So there is a lot of stuff going up into the air that I'm just like trying to keep my cool and not get all freaked out that I'm breathing in all of this stuff. But we can only control so much, right? So there's also a lot of household chemicals. So whether it's scented laundry detergents or scented fragrances in our house, sometimes our indoor air quality can be even worse than what's going on outside. And then self-care products. So what types of things are we putting on our skin? If it's something that you wouldn't eat, then it's usually something that I don't want, patients or people putting on their bodies. So a lot of the external toxins coming from food, also air, and then water. Water is absolutely a big one. I think we're seeing more and more that there are things showing up in our water that we do not want there. But another category of toxins I think people maybe overlook sometimes is the internal toxins. In order for us just to exist, we need to produce energy. And the byproducts of producing energy are waste materials. So we are naturally producing waste every single second of every single day and every single cell. So we need to make sure that our detoxification abilities are kind of in tip-top shape, because we have anywhere from like 40 to 100 trillion cells. Trillion means that there are 12 zeros after that. So that's a lot of waste. Even if each cell is just making one waste molecule, that's 100 trillion waste molecules every second of every day. So I really like to emphasize food as medicine. So there are a lot of foods that we can utilize that help to promote detoxification. I think the word diet kind of has a negative connotation associated with it. So I really like to think more of food as nourishment, or, habits that we utilize. The word diet itself means, how do we habitually nourish ourselves? So a lot of the foods I like to emphasize are the fresh, non-starchy vegetables. So, greens and broccoli and cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, those all help to support detoxification. I think berries are great because they're relatively low sugar, but they provide a lot of wonderful compounds to the body to detox. High quality fiber. Fiber is super important because it helps move toxins out of the body quicker. Also lean proteins, healthy fats. So these this kind of general way of eating gets called the Mediterranean diet. And an article just came out 4 days ago saying that for the 6th year in the row, the Mediterranean diet sits atop this US News and World Report rankings for best overall diet because it helps to lower our risk of heart disease, cancer, diabetes. What does all of those have in common? Well, typically there's a buildup of things like toxins or free radicals. So it kind of makes sense that this way of eating helps to lower our risk of things like that occurring. There are also some specific foods that I love for detox, things like beets, even though they are, a root vegetable or a starchy vegetable. One of my personal favorites are a specific type of radish called Spanish black radish. It's a little pungent, really great for the liver. I usually chop it up really fine with like a head of red cabbage, add a little salt and a little apple cider vinegar, and keep it as a little side condiment in the fridge. So throw it on soups or throw it on salads or sandwiches, whatever you want. It's a quick and easy way to get some really powerhouse nutrients for the liver. Also, burdock root. Burdock can be a little annoying when it's in your yard because it goes everywhere. But the purple flowers, the bees love them. And the root itself is something that we call an alterative in herbal medicine, meaning that it helps to kind of support all of the systems in the body associated with detoxification. And then artichokes, lemons, dandelion greens, just some really, really wonderful foods that we can try and, eat a little bit more frequently to support detoxification. There's also an organization, I'm not sure if you're aware of it or not, called the Environmental Working Group. So they put out a list of the clean 15 and dirty dozen every year, and this pertains to produce. So I always encourage people to buy organic whenever possible, but I just know that it's not always in everyone's budget. It's not always appropriate for everyone. So the Environmental Working Group, or EWG, has this list. So the clean 15 are like the 15 produce items that tend to have the least amount of pesticides. So if you aren't able to buy organic, you could always buy those non-organic or conventional because they don't have a lot of pesticides. But the dirty dozen are those that tend to have the most pesticides. So it's best if you can buy those types of produce items organic. So then we also have website, the tap water database. Want to see what's in your tap water. It can be a little disheartening and a little frightening sometimes, but sometimes we just need a little motivation to maybe go and get that water filter or whatever it is. Then they also have like sunscreens, etc. So they have an app as well that you can look at personal care products. So lotions, makeup, things that you put on your face. You can look and see in their database kind of what rating it gets overall. So that's a really great organization to kind of help see what's going on in the environment out there. All right, so another foundational element that has to do with detoxification is sleep. I'm talking to a lot of people about sleep. A lot of us aren't getting the right amount, maybe just not deep enough sleep. But what's fascinating to me is our brain cells shrink during sleep by as much as 60%. So when our brain cells shrink, this creates more space for the fluid component of our brain to kind of move around. We have lymph vessels in our brain that help to kind of, it's almost like a washing machine in the brain. It helps to wash our brains like every single night and helps us to clear toxins from the brain and the central nervous system. But again, this happens a lot more effectively when we're getting good quality and quantity sleep. Now, I bring up curcumin in this section because it is a very powerful antioxidant. Curcumin comes from turmeric, and it's been shown to help support detoxification in the brain, the liver, the gallbladder, even remove heavy metals from the body. And there's a specific type of curcumin that's blended with turmeric essential oil that's been shown to be 14 times higher levels in the brain than standard curcumin. So who knows, maybe you take a little curcumin before you go to bed, and it helps that washing machine in our brain function a little bit better, and helps to remove, things that we don't want in our brain. Can interfere with our ability to think and process and focus. All right, movement. Again, I think another word that we're trying to get a little maybe away from is exercise. Not everyone likes exercise, but I like to ask, what movements feel, what movements make you feel nourished? Is it breathing? Is it light? Is it strength training? should really be aiming for about 150 minutes of moderate intensity movement per week. So movement is essential to improve our circulation. So circulating around the nutrients that we need, clearing out the waste materials that we don't, also helps to move our lymph. Our lymph does not have any. So our arteries, which we carry blood and other nutrients, get circulated with the help of our heart muscle. But our lymph vessels don't have anything like that. So they get moved when we're moving. The contraction of our muscles actually helps to pump that lymph fluid kind of back towards the heart, where it can eventually be excreted from the body. Movement also helps with, reducing adipose tissue. We tend to store a lot of toxins in our fat cells or adipose. And then, of course, increasing sweating. Sweating is another big way that we can clear toxins from the body. All right. And then stress reduction. I think, oops, my light's trying to attack me. 1 second. There we go. I think, emotional toxicity can be just as harmful as all of the other things that we've been talking about. When we think about our body as a bucket, adding a bunch of stress and emotions in there can make that water even murkier than a lot of the other things that we've discussed. Unprocessed emotions can lead to physical problems, whether it's tension, whether it's pain. So I think stress reduction is another key piece of helping us detoxify every single day. So whether you like to do breathing techniques, like alternate nostril breathing, so breathing in, breathing out, doing that, 4 square breathing, inhaling for 4, holding for 4 seconds, exhaling for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds. There's so many different breathing techniques. We could have a whole class just on that. Also time in nature, like I said, I'm from the Midwest. It's pretty flat here, but when I moved out to the Pacific Northwest, I was just in awe. I mean, the beauty out there is just incredible. And I'm sure there's lots of other places in the world that are beautiful too, for people who don't live in the Pacific Northwest, but it really does change your whole perspective and your way of being when you can spend some time outside. Maybe when the weather's a little nicer, get those bare feet on the ground, get some grounding in. And then there's botanicals like adaptogens that help us adapt to daily stressors, more effectively. And then there's a specific echinacea species that there are compounds in it that help to reduce stress and anxiety. So that's another big one that I use with a lot of patients. Okay, second S, supporting the lymphatic system. Once again, the lymphatic system is kind of a series of nodes and vessels all throughout our body. It's so interesting to me that in conventional medicine, we have all of these specialists. We have a heart doctor, so a cardiologist. We have a liver doctor, a hepatologist, but there's not a specialist for the lymphatic system. And I'm like, what a missed opportunity here. The lymphatic system is so, so important. And really the only time that people even mention the lymphatic system is, let's say someone had breast cancer and needed to have, some breast tissue removed. And sometimes that means they take some of the lymph nodes. So then there's a lot of swelling in that area that occurs. But that's really like the only time that we hear about it, at least on the conventional side of things. But our lymph vessels are one-way drainage. They help to remove fluid and excess waste from the body, transport them to areas for removal. And, maybe you've been sick, had a sore throat or whatever, and you kind of feel your neck and you feel some bulging lymph nodes. That's a sign that your lymph nodes are doing their job and they're, kind of working overtime. So they may be a little enlarged or tender or swollen. But again, the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. So this is why we need to move our bodies, every single day or as much as possible to really get that lymph circulating like it should. So these are some options for daily lymphatic support. I'm a big fan of dry skin brushing. I dry skin brush before I get into the shower. I also love castor oil. I don't know if you know much about castor oil, but it's like a gentle way to help detoxify. You put a little bit on like kind of your bottom right rib cage where your liver is. And there's so many ways to do it. If you did like a Google search on castor oil packs, I'm sure you'd come up with, multiple ways to do it. I'm traveling right now, so I have my little tube of castor oil with me, and I put a little bit before on my abdomen before I go to sleep. So movement, hydration, rebounding, those little trampolines where you kind of jump around for a few minutes in the morning. Again, that's helping to circulate that lymph. Breathing exercises also help. I am also a really big fan of alternating hot and cold water in the shower. So I know this time of the year, it doesn't really sound fun to get a blast of cold water, but when you take a shower, just turn down the water a little bit at the end. You don't have to go like all the way to cold, but just a little bit, because that's going to keep your circulation moving. If we end our showers on hot, that kind of like constricts things a little bit, but when you end with a little bit of cold, that's really going to create some nice contrast in the body and help move your lymphatic fluid. So sometimes I'll have people do like maybe a minute of hot water and then like 15 seconds of cold, and you can kind of alternate back and forth. But again, whatever feels good. Like if you're not feeling it, you don't have to go, Wim Hof, super cold water, but any little step is going to be a step in the right direction. Also, if you have access to like a far infrared sauna, there's a lot of herbal teas and supplements that help with lymph flow, and then lymphatic massage. So there's specific techniques that can be done by a massage therapist. I just had a massage a couple of weeks ago. I felt like a completely new person after I got it. She did a little bit of lymph work. So you could find a massage therapist in your area. I'm always about those self-care pieces, and massages are pretty essential for a lot of us. Okay. Third S, safely promote the removal of toxins. So this is where we're going to talk about targeted supplements. Again, I'm just going to talk about the science about the ingredients, and then you can chat with the folks at Marlene's for any product names specifically. So the key organs or organ systems that we're supporting with targeted supplements include liver, and then to some extent the kidneys, and also our digestive tract. So let's just chat about the liver first and foremost. It's one of our most crucial organs associated with detoxification. And why is that important? Well, we don't just have those internal toxins, but we also are exposed to more than 70,000 chemicals every single day. And it's a little frustrating because more and more just keep getting put out into the environment. And the scary thing is a lot of these haven't been studied for long-term effects. So when people talk about detoxes, I think they're thinking more like short term. So maybe I want to do a 5-day detox or a 10-day or a 14-day. And I'm like, absolutely, if that's what you want to do, but our body needs some detoxification support every single day, because we are coming into contact with all of these things. And not only have these chemicals not really been studied well by themselves, but they certainly haven't been studied in combination. There is not a single research study out there that shows how these 70,000 chemicals interact and how they interact with each other in our bodies. So, a lot of the toxins, because they're new to our bodies and the liver doesn't exactly know what to do with them, a lot of them end up getting stored in our adipose or our fat tissue. And again, toxins tend to have cumulative effects, meaning the longer we are exposed, the more damaging that they can become. So our liver is really like our first line of defense here, crucial in detoxification, also metabolism of, medications, hormones, foods, helps to produce bile in our lymph fluid, also stores certain vitamins and synthesizes our proteins. So we really need to support that liver because it is supporting us every second of every day. So a lot of the issues that can cause liver diseases or liver damage, of course, include toxins, but also certain infections. Alcohol use disorder is a big one too, diabetes, obesity, certain medications. So acetaminophen, which we know as Tylenol is one of the branded names, is the leading cause of acute liver failure. One large dose of acetaminophen is enough to cause liver damage. And how many people out there do you know that are taking acetaminophen fairly regularly? And again, this isn't to scare anyone, but it's really to kind of to call you to action. And, again, there are other options that we have when it comes to things like pain or inflammation or whatever someone is taking acetaminophen for. But again, we got to be supporting that liver. So one of my favorite herbs for liver support is called andrographis. Andrographis has been used for, thousands of years in traditional medicine systems. In places like India, they use the Ayurvedic medicine system. So one of its primary uses has been on liver health. So it helps to protect our liver. It helps to protect the liver against the damaging effects of high blood sugar. So it's an anti-diabetic. Also, it has a lot of anti-properties. So it helps to support healthy blood pressure, and it's antiviral, antibacterial. So again, really supporting a lot of the processes in the body and helping to get things like bacteria and viruses out. Those create some toxins and metabolic waste and can be really problematic when kind of left unchecked in the body. So when we're talking about andrographis specifically for liver health and liver protection, just like turmeric contains curcumin, andrographis contains a key compound called andrographolide. So andrographolide has been shown to decrease liver inflammation, lower liver enzyme levels. So, excuse me. So when our cells in the liver get damaged, they kind of pop sometimes like water balloons. What's inside those liver cells are a wide variety of things, but there are certain enzymes, so certain compounds that get released from our liver cells when they kind of pop balloon, right? So when we see high levels of these liver enzymes, it means that there's a lot of liver damage because a lot of cells are getting popped or, going through changes where these enzymes are leaking out of the cells. So andrographis helps to reduce that, meaning that it's protecting the liver cells, and also helps against scarring in the liver, which we know can occur from a wide variety of liver injuries. Now, one of the biggest issues we're seeing with liver health these days is something that's got a long name. Bear with me here. It's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD. So this is a lot of changes to the liver based off of some of the foods that we're eating and some of the lifestyle choices. But andrographis helps to prevent buildup of fat in the liver, which prevents some of these changes to the liver from taking place. Now, something I really love about andrographis is it boosts the levels of our body's own antioxidants. So we create antioxidants, ideally every second of every day, hopefully. Things like glutathione and SOD or superoxide dismutase. So when we can boost our body's own levels of antioxidants, that's also going to really help to protect our liver and kind of take some of the load off of the liver. So we're reducing those free radicals that just go and steal energy from other cells or other molecules by having sufficient levels of antioxidants on board. So another botanical I really like for liver health is called grapeseed extract. Grapeseed extract has been used for a wide variety of purposes. Traditionally, it's known a lot for its support in the heart and the cardiovascular system, our blood vessels, but it also has a lot of benefits for the liver specifically. So it's also been shown to reduce liver fat content. Again, the more fat that builds up in the liver, the less able the liver is to do the 500 plus jobs that it has. So if we can take some of the burden off of the liver by adding in things like grapeseed extract, we can keep the liver much happier. Also helps to reduce those liver enzymes. So those, enzymes that get released when those liver cells get damaged or, kind of self-destruct. Also supports hormone balance. Our liver is a key piece of supporting hormone balance, and sometimes when we have too many toxins floating around in the body, it's really hard for our hormonal system to be in balance because our liver is busy doing 1,000 other things, dealing with a lot of other toxins. It doesn't always have time to process our hormones effectively. And then again, grapeseed extract is also a really potent antioxidant. So grapeseed extract has been studied specifically for its beneficial effects on non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Some of this is a little technical, so I'll do my best to kind of break it down a little bit, but people received 1,000 milligrams of grapeseed extract twice per day, and they saw a significant decrease in their liver enzyme levels. And these were people who have the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now, grapeseed extract also helps to protect against the effects of a high-fat diet. So when we say high-fat diet, we mean like high processed fat. So in a lot of cases, they're using things like, maybe soybean oil or something like that. So help to protect against a high-fat diet by decreasing the damage to things like our healthy fats and our proteins. It boosted antioxidants in the liver, preserved levels of zinc. Zinc is a really powerful material that our body uses to fight a wide variety of toxins and damage. So help to preserve zinc in the liver as well. So a key mineral that we want to have in the liver also works as an antioxidant. So it's hard to talk about liver health without mentioning milk thistle. Milk thistle has historically been used for a wide variety of issues. It's actually one of the main things that can be used for people who end up getting mushroom poisoning. So there's like these mushrooms that grow that are called death caps or amanitas. And unfortunately, they look really similar to a lot of edible mushrooms. And one of the only known ways to reverse some of the damage that can occur, because a lot of times when people eat the death cap mushrooms, it unfortunately lives up to its name. But one of the ways that a hospital setting, people have reversed that damages with milk thistle. So it's been used for thousands of years to cure various liver dysfunctions. There are certain extracts, so key compounds in milk thistle. It's kind of a group of compounds called silymarin. And one of the key ones that we like to focus in on is something called silibin. So these key compounds in milk thistle really work together to be a powerful antioxidant. They help to keep our blood sugar levels normal, which helps our liver function better, helps to protect those mitochondria, which again are the powerhouses of our cells. We need healthy mitochondria to make sure that we are able to detox appropriately. Again, also helps to reduce buildup in the liver of fatty tissue that can interfere with the liver's ability to function, boosts the glutathione levels. So it's been used for a wide variety of liver issues, but milk thistle has been a little bit difficult to absorb. So sometimes it's combined with something called lecithin. So you kind of can get a little bit better absorption when you have the milk thistle with lecithin. Now, there was this really interesting study on people with liver disease, and they were treated with the combination of milk thistle with lecithin, and it reduced their liver enzyme levels by up to 30%. And in some cases, return those liver enzymes back to normal, which is absolutely where we want them to be. And has also been shown to decrease the amount of fat tissue buildup inside of the liver. So went from about a 60% of participants with severe liver fat down to about 25% at the end of the study. So a lot of support that we can get from these three botanicals. So, a winning combination for the liver, we've got andrographis, standardized to those key compounds, andrographolide, French grape seed, standardized to polyphenols, and these absorbable compounds, really long name, but I'll say it anyway, oligomeric proanthocyanidins or OPCs, milk thistle standardized to silibin, so really designed to help support liver detoxification, protect against oxidative stress and damage, and also enhance liver function overall. So there's a couple other ingredients that I also really love for liver health that I just needed to give a quick shout out to. So glutathione is one of our body's primary antioxidants. We should be making a lot of glutathione every single day, but unfortunately, there's a lot of health conditions that interfere with how much glutathione we can make. As we age, we lose the ability to make appropriate levels of glutathione. Now, glutathione is really important because it is necessary for certain phases of our liver's ability to detoxify. So these phases are named phase 1 and phase 2, not really fancy names, but really gets the job done. So in phase 1, we kind of make the compound actually a little bit more reactive, so we can combine it with something to get it out of the body faster. So that's when phase 2 comes in. So it makes these toxins, whether it's a pesticide or a heavy metal or a hormone, makes them water soluble so we can excrete them from the body. Because again, a lot of those toxins are stored in our fat. So we need to go through a couple processes to make the toxins water soluble so we can better excrete them from the body. And glutathione is our main defense against oxidative stress, particularly in our mitochondria, those powerhouses of every single cell. So when I'm recommending glutathione to people or patients, I like it in its active form. That's the form that can go and neutralize free radicals and has all of its superpowers, also called reduced glutathione. So the form I like is stabilized in this specific system using pomegranate polyphenols. All right, last little bit on liver support here, curcumin. There's just about nothing that I can find that curcumin can't do. It supports pretty much every health condition out there. There's 20,000 published studies on curcumin. Scientific research is incredibly expensive to do. So if curcumin wasn't effective, they wouldn't keep doing research on it. But again, there's research on curcumin for just about every single health condition out there. So there was a clinical study done just a couple of years ago, and clinical study means that it was done in people, and it was shown to reduce liver fibrosis, which is kind of like a hardening or a scarring of the liver. Again, that's not what we want our liver to be doing. We want our liver to be able to detoxify. When we have a buildup of scar tissue in the liver, it's a lot harder for the liver to perform all of its jobs. So decrease liver fibrosis by about 78%, and also decrease something that we call hemoglobin A1C, which is a measurement of your kind of average blood sugars over about 3 months. And we know that blood sugar has a pretty damaging effect on the liver as well when it's higher than where we want it to be. So you really want to look for a curcumin enhanced with turmeric essential oil, that same one I talked about kind of in that sleep section, that has been clinically studied. All right. So now we're going to switch gears away from the liver, and we're going to talk a little bit about digestion, because again, when we have ineffective detoxification, we can feel bloated, we can have acid reflux, we can be constipated. So what are some of the barriers to optimal digestion? Well, food sensitivities. So it's really hard for someone out there to not have any food sensitivities. Maybe you're one of those people that you eat a specific something and then you get bloated almost immediately. There's probably a good chance that you might be a little sensitive. Sensitive is different than a food allergy, which can be a life-threatening emergency. But a lot of people out there will have at least a couple food sensitivities, and that can create a lot of irritation and inflammation in the digestive tract. So one thing that we will see is people tend to have constipation. Now, as naturopathic doctors, sometimes there's a joke that, we love to talk about bowel movements, but it's like, I need to know how frequently you are having a bowel movement, because ideally you should be having at least one per day, because that's one of the biggest ways that we excrete toxins from the body. So when people tell me they're only having like one bowel movement a week, and then they also have headaches and they also have fatigue, I'm like, ooh, maybe if we can get you going to the bathroom a little bit more regularly, some of those symptoms tend to disappear pretty quickly. Now, eating under stress. This is a big one, because a lot of us are just go, go, go. Our lifestyles are so difficult to find, time to eat in silence and eat in a relaxed environment. But we really need to do the best we can, because when we are digesting, we need to be in more of what we call a parasympathetic nervous system. So we've got our sympathetic, which is like our fight or flight. So you see a tiger and that's the system that you kick into gear to run away or fight or whatever. But parasympathetic is what I consider like the parachute. So you're like coming down, you're resting, you're digesting. This is where a lot of our healing takes place. So when we're eating under stress, we're not engaging all of the processes to properly digest our food. So then it just kind of sits there, and then you feel really bloated, or you feel, just like your food is literally just sitting in your stomach, because that's what it's doing. Not chewing food thoroughly. This kind of goes with your stress, but we need to be chewing our food probably way more than we are. But when you're eating a 15-minute work lunch break, right? You're going to just get as much food in as possible. And maybe you're not worried as much about chewing, but chewing is really important, because that's like the first part of our digestive system. We have materials in our saliva that we use to start digesting our food. But when we don't chew properly, we're sending larger amounts of food into our stomach, and the stomach is like, holy man, I don't know what to do with all of this. So again, it just kind of sits there. Now, also, of course, decreased microbiome diversity. So that means all of those good friendly bugs that we want in our stomach, unfortunately, are getting kind of kicked out, whether it's from antibiotics or whether we are eating things where, have food sensitivities. There's a lot of reasons why the good friendly bacteria in our bodies are kind of decreasing. Also a lot of like the chemicals and the pesticides in foods have adverse effects on those good friendly probiotics. So there is this specific combination of herbs that has been used in Ayurveda specifically for digestion. So there was a 28-day study on this combination of 14 herbs versus a placebo for adults with gastrointestinal issues. So things like indigestion, constipation, acid reflux, some pretty common symptoms that I see in a lot of my patients. So at the end of just 28 days, people had a 70% reduction in abdominal pain, 49% reduction in constipation, 45% reduction in diarrhea, 64% decrease in indigestion, and 72% reduction in acid reflux. There are a lot of people out there that would love those types of results in just 28 days. And again, it's using a combination of herbs that has been, historically used to support digestion. A lot of people, when they have reflux, they end up going on medications, and sometimes it just makes the problem worse. Or they need to go on another medication for the side effect of the first medication. It just kind of spirals out of control. So I really like, the herbal approach, using targeted supplements for some of these really common conditions that we see. Again, something that's a key sign that people aren't detoxing appropriately is digestion, constipation. So here's just kind of a little more detail on some of the herbs that are in that formula. So things like licorice or borhidia, greater galangal, curry tree, turmeric, gotu kola, andrographis that we already talked about, ginger. Now, what I love about this formula is it's not a stimulant laxative, meaning when you take it, you're not going to have to like rush to the bathroom a couple hours later and have, a bowel movement. That's not how it works. There are some laxatives out there. And they're not, that's not really like my favorite. I don't really want to force the body to do something. I kind of want to gently nudge the body and be like, hey, if I give you these herbs, like maybe, things will speed up a little bit. So, perhaps you'll have like a normal bowel movement that next morning or that next afternoon. But again, it's not something that like you only can take on the weekend because you're going to have to run and have a bowel movement. But I do like people to take it in the evening. So about an hour before bedtime with a full glass of water. And what's great about it is you can kind of take on an as needed basis. So these herbs won't create dependency if you discontinue them. For a lot of people, the results will improve with continued use, but it's absolutely not necessary to do that. So last S here is set up daily routines, because again, seasonal detoxes are great. Any type of detox is great, but we really need to focus on bringing these detoxification strategies into our everyday life, because our bodies are constantly under assault. So we need to provide them with some of the tools and things that we can to bring as much detoxification to the body as possible. So I kind of like to lay out a couple different options. I could tell a patient to do something, but if it doesn't feel right for them, or they, don't want to do it, then what difference does it make? It's like, I like to give people options and then let them choose something that seems feasible. It seems like it's something they want to do. So I kind of break it up into a couple different categories. There's a few things that I do like right away when I wake up. I'll just kind of walk you through my quick little routine that I do in the morning. So I usually get up, wash my face with a little cold water that kind of snaps me to attention right away. And then I do like some acupressure points on my face. So I'll just show you really quick. I kind of just do a little bit of light tapping and just kind of going down under the eyes, under the nose, on the chin. And I just do this a few times. Sometimes you'll find like a couple tender spots, and that kind of cues you into, there's like maybe a little bit of, stuck energy there. For those of you who have studied Chinese medicine, maybe there's a little stuck chi, especially after you sleep. Sometimes we move around a lot. Sometimes we sleep in funky positions. So we got to like move that energy. So that's one of the first things that I do when I wake up. I love how it feels. And then I'll usually do like a little bit of light movement, a little Qigong. There's a lot of great YouTube videos out there about, short Qigong workouts for like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I'm not one of those people that's like going to get up and go hit the gym for an hour and sweat it out. Like I'm not wired like that. I wish I was a morning person, but like, that's just not me. So I got to do things that I'm actually going to stick with. And for me, it's kind of more of the light movement. I also love having a little bit of herbal tea, maybe a little bit of warmer lemon water. I also drink coffee, and you can drink all of these together. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Sometimes too, a little bit of intention setting in the morning, like what are some ways that you can nourish yourself? Are there a couple minutes you can find throughout your day for self-care? Maybe you want to do a short breathing exercise just to really get the breath kind of grounded and centered for your day. If you're someone who likes to really shower in the morning, do a 1 minute dry skin brushing before you get to the shower. And then if you're really feeling great, you can alternate a little bit of hot and cold water. So those are just a couple options for the morning. You know, I need a little help when it comes to feeling alert right away in the morning. So those are some of the tips and things that I've used. And then a couple options for before meals. Even if you're eating at, in a stressful place, try just a couple big deep breaths. I usually tell patients to start with 3 deep breaths. So in through the nose, out through the mouth, just kind of like let it out. We want to do our best to get in a state of being where we're able to digest food. Because it doesn't help anyone for, to feel like our food's just sitting in our stomach and it doesn't really make you feel fueled or nourished for the rest of the day. I also like herbal bitters. So there are some herbal bitter formulas. There's some liquids out there that you can, take a couple drops. Bitters are really great. So Andrographis is actually called the king of bitters. So I wouldn't open the capsule necessarily unless you're feeling like really adventurous, but a lot of the bitter herbs help to kind of prime our digestive system to get the juices flowing that we need for digesting our food. So you could do some bitters, or you could dilute a little bit of apple cider vinegar and water. That's just going to cue to the body like, hey, we've got food coming soon. Get ready. Also, food gratitude. I know this sounds a little funny, but if you've ever gardened before and you go and pick your own salad, like it's such an amazing connection. You're like, wow, this food like grew in my backyard and now I'm eating it. But there's a lot of gratitude we can give to any food that we eat. So thanking the food, thanking it for the energy that it's going to provide to your body. For a lot of people, it can make a really big difference in how they feel before and after they eat. So mid-morning, sometimes people get like that mid-morning slump, or maybe early afternoon, like after you've eaten lunch. So again, try a short breathing exercise. See if you can get some light movement. Maybe you can go for a short walk. If you're at work, you can step outside for a few minutes and just walk around a little bit after you've eaten lunch, or maybe a couple qigong movements, even if you have to go to the bathroom. Do it wherever you can fit these things in. It's all about making it right for your lifestyle. And then evening wind down. So again, maybe getting some light movement if you weren't able to during the day. I love my oil packs. It's something I tend to do after the shower, but again, wherever you can fit that in. And then if you're more of an evening shower person, here's where you do your dry skin brushing and your contrast shower, and then journaling. This is a great way for us to empty that emotional toxicity bucket. So maybe you just need to write out, like, I had a really crummy day and I just need to like get that out of my body into a piece of paper, onto my journal, wherever it needs to go. So yeah, if you felt inspired by any of these, you could just pick one for just to start with, pick one thing that you want to do in the morning. And then when you're feeling that's in a good routine, add in something else and just kind of keep building from there. I like to set people up for success. I don't expect you to make a complete 180 overnight. I'm trying to give you tools that you want to incorporate into your daily life and aren't going to add any extra stress. The last thing I'm trying to do is stress people out when I'm, helping them work on improving their detoxification. So here's just kind of like a little diagram or routine. If you just wanted to look that over, you're more than welcome to. So just waking, before meals, mid-morning, lunch, post-work, evening wind down, pretty much the things that we just talked about, just kind of all on one slide. All right, that is the end of my presentation. So I just want to thank you. I am a crazy dog mom. So those are 3 of my 5 dogs that I have pictured. I love sharing my home with my pups. They're amazing. And then, like I said, I do downhill longboard. So that's a picture of me at one of the last events I was at. And yeah, I would love to stay on and answer some questions. So just thank you all so much for being here tonight. I know how busy you all are and how tricky it can be sometimes to join some of these live Zoom events. So thank you, all of you. And thank you, Marlene's.
Thank you so much, Dr. Loch. Thank you. So we have Maggie raising her hand. You're more than welcome to unmute yourself, Maggie, if you like.
Hi, thank you so much. I did have a question, and I apologize, I joined late. So, how may I address
Oh, Dr. Loch would be perfect.
Dr. Locke? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice, thank you. Dr. Locke, my question is, so I was really interested in the Ayurvedic combination for digestion. Excuse me. And I was wondering, you were saying you mentioned the symptoms, the people that it would be good for, but I'm wondering, like, just for someone who has like bloating or just like a little bit of gastrointestinal distress, can it be helpful for that person too?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, whether it's bloating or indigestion or abdominal pain, I think those herbs are really gentle yet super effective. Like I don't think they measured gas or bleeding, or I have to go back to the slide, but I know that they did have a significant reduction in those symptoms too. So maybe, you want to take, one capsule per day or something like that. If you missed it in the beginning, just talking about the ingredients themselves. So I'm not doing any
Okay.
product names. I just wanted it to be like
Okay.
an educational opportunity, but you're more than happy to contact the folks at Marlene's and they can help set you up with what you're looking for. Yeah, I'm just here to do the
Yeah,
education, but yes, I definitely think that it could be helpful for that too.
thank you. And then just one last thing, sorry. The castor oil pack, I missed that. Can you just real quick say what that is?
Totally. It's like one of my favorite things to talk about. So
Okay.
there's a lot of variations out there. So some people, what they'll do is put like a little castor oil either on a cotton flannel or a regular flannel. So maybe one of those, like, I don't know, 8x8s or something. So you put a couple of drops on there. You don't have to like saturate the whole flannel or cloth. And then you put that over kind of like your right rib cage where your liver is. And sometimes it's nice to put like a heating pad over that. I will tell you, castor oil will stain. So I have like dedicated clothes in my collection that are just castor oil on, they're castor oil t-shirts. Use an old t-shirt. So you put the castor oil cloth over it, and then you could put a t-shirt on, if your castor oil t-shirt, and then you can put a little heat. So that's one way. That's kind of like the traditional way to do a castor oil. I'm traveling right now, so I'll tell you, I have my little baby bottle of castor oil with me. I just put a little bit on my kind of right abdominal area. And after I showered, so I'm kind of like nice and warm, and then it like absorbs into the skin a little bit better. And then that's kind of like my quick and easy way to do a castor oil pack. I also sometimes will have people put a little castor oil on their skin and then get into the bathtub. So there are some people that like just don't have the time, or the castor oil is a little too messy for them. So if you put it in before you shower or before you take a bath, and that heat helps to kind of let the castor oil absorb a little bit easier into the skin. And then when you get out, you can always wipe it off. I prefer people to leave it on if possible, but it's like any contact with your skin is better than none. So I'm always supportive of however people can make it work. But there's a lot of options. There's even like little castor oil roll-ons. So you can just like roll a little bit on your skin. But yeah, those are just a couple ways. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways that you can use castor oil topically, but basically it really helps to support the liver. I've had people who had, just like some dull abdominal pain, and they started doing castor oil packs, and within a couple weeks, they're like, amazing, my digestion is improving. So it's kind of one of those tried and true, like old school naturopathic cures that's been recommended for a lot of things. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for the presentation. It was fascinating. I want to learn more.
Thank you. I super
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Maggie. Great questions. And I put in the chat box an article that I found also about castor oil. And yeah, I I have used the roll-on ones, and those are really fascinating.
Yeah, I've also recommended it to people with like maybe a little bit of arthritis in their hands. Sometimes I'll have people do castor oil gloves. So do like a little castor oil on your hands and then again get a dedicated pair of gloves for your castor oil. Same with feet. So yeah, there's like a bajillion uses for castor oil, but digestion is definitely a big one. Like right now, I told you I'm traveling, so I'm doing my best to eat the things that I know nourish me, but you know, you're eating out a little bit more than normal. So I'm definitely using my castor oil every single night.
Well, that's good that you have that tool, and all of you now know, when you're out on the road and still needing that detox.
Exactly. And then I'm just gonna advance one more. I had a couple. Oops, hold on. So just some resources. So I mentioned like the environmental working group quite a bit. So I put their website in there. My personal website is there. I have a couple like free handouts on my website. If you're interested in learning more, and then just a couple other resources that I used for today's presentation. So there, the bottom one is a castor oil article too. So
That's perfect. Yay, resources. You gotta love
yeah.
it. Well, folks, you're more than welcome to ask some more questions while we have our lovely presenter here. We are so grateful to you, Dr. Loch. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been so fun. I love connecting with people, you know, virtually, in person, whatever it is. I hope to make it up to the store at some point in the future. I know I had a couple of my mentors who rave about Marlene's and had personal connections with Marlene and the family. So yeah, it's really special to connect with you all in this setting.
Yes, definitely, and we super appreciated everyone tuning in. To you, Dr. Lexi Loch, and everyone who is a part of this wonderful platform. We wouldn't be able to do this without all of you. So thank you for being all a part of it. Well, thank you, everyone. I think there's no more questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and. Oh, Maggie, do you happen to have another question?
It's not a question, but Dr. Loch, you're enthusiastic about castor oil. And I have a funny story, but I don't know how much time you have, so I don't
Oh,
want to take up too much time. But
please, I love funny stories.
and like I don't know if there were any other questions. I don't want to like take too much
Oh,
space.
no, I think.
I didn't get any directly to me, so I'm all about hearing
Okay,
funny
dope.
stories.
Cool. Well, I'm talking to, strangers on here, so sorry if this is somewhat TMI, but we talked about the subject of constipation, and I was in high school, and I was dealing with a bit of constipation. Sorry, yeah, again, if that's TMI, I'm in healthcare, and I feel like it's just really easy to talk about your body
Yep.
in that. But anyways, I was going backpacking. I was part of a backpacking group, and I was constipated. So that is not a good combination. I needed to do something about that before I left for the trail. And my mom, who's a nurse, she decided, let's try castor oil. And I chugged some of this sluggish stuff, and I might have taken a little bit too much. I learned that it is it's quite a laxative. It's quite a laxative. And unfortunately, that experience happened while I was packing. So yeah, dang castor oil.
Yeah.
But it's so cool to learn about its other things. Like my mom has rheumatoid arthritis. Tell her about the castor oil gloves. Like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, when used topically, it can be very helpful. And then of course the Ayurvedic combination is a great one for more of the internal support. But yeah, when consumed internally, castor oil is
Yeah,
a profound laxative, as I'm sure you well experience, which,
I
you know,
learned that.
yeah, again, that's
Yes,
another reason why I love that Ayurvedic combination, because it doesn't push the body too hard. You know, like a lot of
great.
even some of the herbal laxatives out there, it kind of just squeezes the intestinal muscles so strongly that they all get dependent on it. Like they can't end up moving themselves without having some type of like we call them stimulant laxatives. So that's why I like things that are more gentle, but yet still very effective, still safe enough to take every single day. So a little castor oil topically, a little Ayurvedic or combination internally before bed. And I think that's a winning combo right there.
Awesome. Thank you. This will be my last thing. Do you do any more sessions like this, or I'm just really interested in holistic medicine, which is why I was attracted to the. Is there any other way to get involved with that, or like any advice that you have for that?
I will kind of turn that over to Elizabeth. I know we might be
Okay.
doing a few more. I mean, if there's other topics that are of interest, I think we've been in communication a little bit. So yeah, I'll turn it over to Elizabeth.
Thank you so much
Yes.
for your time.
Thank you so much, Maggie. Great questions. So, if you, so you found our talk possibly on the Marlene's website. So, basically each week we have a representative from a company or a local practitioner talk about health topics, and we still have two more. For the end of the month, a mindful new year and misconceptions of on weight loss. And then next month, we have some heart health topics and some other really great topics to check out. So yeah, also if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and later you'll actually see this presentation on there, and that way you can find all different various topics um, on health information at your fingertips.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Maggie. Thank you. And thank you everyone for being here. And thanks again, Dr. Loch, streaming all the way from the Green Bay area. So we super appreciate you and all that you do. And folks can stay in touch and get a hold of you to do the telehealth on your website. So that's wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Yes, this has been so much fun, and I hope we can do something like this again in the future. It was really great to connect with everyone.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's a couple dates that were um floating around. So we'll definitely have you back soon. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth, and everyone who listened today, and those who will listen to the recording, and also Marlene's for helping make these all possible.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Take good care.